Welcome to OLC 4.0. This is term 2B. Today is class number 2. We are on unit 1, lesson 1, assignment 1. That will not happen very often. And today we are also going to be talking about subjects, predicates, nouns, adjectives, verbs, basically a lot of grammar just to get our English started off well. All right, I am Jillian Percy, and here are all the ways to contact us. The studio is 1-800-465-7144. The office phone number is 1-800-667-3703. Extension 2211 is mine. My email is jillian.percy@nnec.on.ca. If you are sending me a Google document, it is jillian.percy@nnec schools.org. Sorry, for those who might be on the radio, for some insane reason, Google decided to log me out, even though I've already logged in. I forgot this is why I had to stop using Google because it keeps doing this to me. All right, hopefully that'll be the one and only time. And I have learned my lesson. Oh my goodness. All right. You can also reach out to me on Facebook. The name there is capital G, capital P, ERCY, space, capital W, AHSA, so G Percy Wasa. If you are sending me a message there, please make sure to tell me your full name, what course you're in, and what assignment you are having difficulty with, okay? There are 2 different YouTube channels. There is my teacher channel, and there is the school channel. Now, the school channel has OLC 40 already posted from the beginning of the school year, and so we're not going to post it up again on there. However, I will be posting this term's classes on my teacher channel. So if you heard part of it and you want to kind of check in, then go to my channel, not the school one, because the school one is the one from September. Now, nothing has fundamentally changed really, but I do kind of play around with it a little bit and here and there. So it's always worth kind of checking the current one if you can. Okay. How to hand in assignments. This is my most commonly asked question. There are all sorts of ways you can hand in your assignments, basically. The easiest way is if you have a learning center in your community, go and talk to the DEC, give it to them, ask them to scan it and send it to me. Make sure you hang on to your originals. There is a portfolio project at the end of OLC 40 and you will have to have them for those marks, okay? You can fax it to me, 1-800-463-7852 for Ontario, 1-877-990-2023 if you're anywhere else in the country. You can scan it using a scanner app. You can mail it to me if you really want to, but that is not my suggestion because things do get lost in the mail. It takes a long time to get to me. My marking pile is huge at this time of year, and so it may take me a long time to get back to you, and people get frustrated. So I don't suggest it, but it is a possibility. If you use Google Docs, you can share documents with me through Google Docs. Just make sure to include me as somebody who can view it or edit it. Otherwise, I won't be able to see it. You can also hand in assignments by photograph through Facebook or email. And I'm going to talk more about that in the one slide, but keep in mind when you do that, check your photo. Make sure it's possible to read your writing for somebody that didn't write it, right? And then we'll talk more about the other details. Whenever you hand in work, always send it to studentwork@nnec.on.ca. When you do this, the secretary can log that you submitted the work, that we received it. I see that it's there. It gets printed off. If you send it directly to me and anything were to happen to me, even just I got sick for a few weeks, no one else can access it, unfortunately. So it's better to do this because it just has more flexibility for, unexpected occasions, right? Physically on the actual paper that you send in, always make sure your full name, the course name, the assignment name and number are on. So for example, if it is Journal 13, make sure you've said that because there's a lot of journals in this particular course. They're required. So I want to make sure I know which one it is. Also, if an assignment asks for both a rough and a good draft, always send in both of them and label them so I know which one is which. I always compare them and see what kind of changes you made. If they are exactly the same, you get less marks. That's just the facts. Sorry, guys. All right, so talking about doing photographs. When you send the picture of me, send it as an attachment. Normally, at least on my phone, when you go to share it, it'll say email or email as an attachment. Always pick email as an attachment, okay? Because it just works so much better. So when you take the picture, save it, you can put it in your Google Drive or put it in your Google or your Dropbox, wherever you put things, and then send it as an attachment. It just comes up better for some reason. I don't know why that works better, but it works so much better for me. Okay. Now, if you want to use a scanner app, which is really just as simple as taking a picture, but it produces much higher quality, okay? It's designed to do those tiny little lines that we have in our typing and our handwriting and whatever you do. So it just takes way better pictures. I use Adobe Scan. It's a reliable thing. You install it, you open it, it's free. You go ahead and take a picture. It will kind of play around until it has the boundaries right. If you don't like it, you can always retake it. You keep on going till you have all your pages scanned, hit continue. Then you can look back over it and see, hey, do I want to fix anything? Do I need to put anything in order? Hit save PDF, give it a name, obviously like OLC 40 assignment number 1 or whatever. And then you can share it as an attachment, or you can save it to Google Drive or Dropbox or wherever you save your stuff at, okay? That is my preferred way if you're not going to scan things, okay? It really works so well. Okay, so today's learning goals, we're going to try and do learning goals so you kind of know what the point is. Today, really, we're just beginning to look at sentences. One of the big expectations for this course is that students can write in complete and correct sentences. Sentences are the building block of any type of writing, and if you are having difficulty with writing them, it can make this course very difficult. So even though it may seem very basic, we are starting at this very first important level. So by the end of today's lesson, you should feel confident that you can identify a complete and incomplete sentence, identify the subject and the predicate in a sentence, identify some of the different parts of speech in a complete subject, and use your knowledge of a good sentence to write several sentences on an assigned topic. A lot of us are used to using Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, all those kind of things where there isn't really a requirement to write a proper grammatical sentence. So we just write short forms, rewrite part of a sentence, and it becomes a thing where when we transfer it to more academic or more formal writing, if we've been out of school for a while, we can kind of forget, oh, what are all the rules for those kind of things? So that's why we're kind of going back over the rules because, you know, we all get into the habit of talking very casually and school writing is kind of more formal, basically. All right. So Unit 1 looks like this. The basic content information is always here on the front page. Like I said, I can also be emailed at jillian.percy@nnec.on.ca. If anyone is out there in the radio universe, I spell Jillian with a G for a whole bunch of reasons that go back to my parents. So if you spell it with a J, it won't reach me, okay? If you are having difficulties at any time with an assignment, please reach out to me on Facebook or on email, and I will be happy to get back to you. Okay, so here is our introduction to the course. This course is designed to help you acquire and demonstrate the cross-curricular literacy skills that are evaluated by the Ontario Secondary Skill Literacy Test. That is that mandatory test that they make students take now in grade 9. It is one of the things that the government absolutely requires that everybody has, either the test or this course. The test is only offered 2 times a year. So that's why a lot of people end up taking the course instead. If the course is completed, it will meet the provincial literacy requirement for graduation, and it will also count as a full credit in English. You will read a variety of informational, narrative, and graphic texts, and you will produce a variety of forms of writing, including summaries, information paragraphs, news reports, and opinion pieces. You will also manage and maintain a portfolio containing a record of your reading experiences and samples of your writing. This course is broken down into 4 units with 5 lessons each. In total, there are 20 lessons, including accommodating portfolio. Now, I want to add something to that. Sometimes we are used to the high school thing where we went to school where one class was a lesson. They don't really mean that. They mean a concept. There may be 4 or 5 assignments per lesson. So this particular course, I think, has currently about 45 assignments. So it doesn't only mean 20 assignments. I just want to make sure that's clear ahead of time, right? You are encouraged to have regular contact with your teacher throughout the course, and you will be asked to evaluate your own progress with your work by responding to feedback from the teacher. If you are willing to put the time and an honest effort into your work, you will be successful with your course. Be sure to ask for help if as needed along the way. I have to say, for the most part, people will generally pass this course if they do the work. Where people will run into problems is if they only hand me in the good copy and don't hand me in the rough copy. If they skip all the assignments that are really hard. If they don't follow the writing process, they just kind of race through and hand me an assignment in that they did 10 minutes. Those are the kind of things that will cause you to lose marks because they become very obvious. But if you work hard and you're willing to work with me, if I say, hey, there's some problems here, we need to kind of work on this, then this course is very doable, okay? So overall, we talked about this before. The coursework, so all those assignments are only worth about 70% of your mark. Then that portfolio that we do at the very end is worth 10% of your overall grade. The final exam, it's actually now a culminating activity instead, is worth 20%, and altogether that works into a possible 100%. Now, the 4 units are not equal in terms of work. This is one of the things I would like to fix, but I don't know if it's going to happen. The first unit is the longest. For some reason, they put 18 assignments in the first unit. I don't know why. So sometimes people get scared that they're all going to be that long, but they aren't. Unit 2 only has 11 assignments. Unit 3 only has 10 assignments. And then Unit 6 only has 6 assignments, although they are kind of longer assignments as far as that goes. So the first one's kind of the roughest, in all honesty. Once you're past that, the others are a lot easier. So Unit 1 is called Reading and Writing for Personal Success, all about me. Okay, so we are going to get started with talking about a proper sentence. Every sentence you write must have a subject, which is a noun or a pronoun, and a predicate. A predicate is a verb and all the words attached to the verb. It also should express a complete thought. It should make sense on its own. So if I said, John is, that's not a complete sentence because it doesn't make, I haven't finished it. If I said, John is hungry, then it's a complete sentence, okay? So this is a quick little overview of all the different parts of speech. I'm gonna do a kind of a quick review here, but I am gonna be talking about these more as we go along because, again, these are the building blocks. The big thing I want you to know is words can do more than one job. Some words can only do one job, but hang on, we haven't talked about these. Some of the slides get mixed up. Articles introduce a noun. You can have a, an, or the. Those are the only articles, only those 3. Nouns are person, place, thing, or idea. Pronouns replace a noun, things like she, he, or you. Adjectives describe or modify a noun. Things like big, French, pretty, shiny, sunny, hot. And verbs can show an action, like jump, dream, or drive, or a state of being. Am, is, are, was, were, and will. I'm actually going to only talk about these today because the other ones we won't really get to today, I don't think. So I'm going to leave those for another day, all right? So parts of speech where we're just looking at, that's the micro level. Just the words and the job that they're doing in the sentence. And most people have heard of these. There are only 8 parts of speech: nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, interjections, and articles. Those are the big categories. There's smaller versions inside those, but those are the main categories. Now, there's also something called parts of a sentence. Not everybody was taught this, I find, though. Grammar kind of fell out of favor for a while. People felt like it was fussy and boring, which it kind of is, I get it, but it is really necessary. So just in case, I'm going over this because I know some people, because I hear them tell me, they were never taught this. They never heard this in school, which is a crying shame as far as I'm concerned. But hey, we are here to remedy that problem. There are two main parts. There is the subject and there is the predicate. The subject is either a noun or a pronoun. It's going to tell you who or what is the main actor or the main topic in the sentence. It will typically come at the beginning of the sentence, and it always comes before the predicate or the verb. The predicate is the verb and all the rest. It's going to tell you what the subject is doing. It starts with the verb and then the rest of the sentence. It normally starts with the verb anyways. There's a few exceptions. And then it's normally the next word right after the subject, okay? The subject always comes before the predicate. It has to. In English, you cannot put the subject after the predicate. Remember how yesterday we talked about some languages are different? In English, it has to come first, okay? A sentence can be as simple as two parts as long as it has subject and a predicate and it expresses a complete thought. So something like dogs run. Dogs is my subject, run is my verb. That's a complete thought. He fell. He is my subject, fell is my verb and predicate. Birds. Birds is my subject, fly is my predicate and verb. Susan tripped. Susan is my subject, tripped is my predicate. Now, in English, we don't normally just run around with two-word sentences. So here are some longer, more typical examples. The black cat chased after the mouse. So who or what is the main actor? The cat. It's doing the action. The cat is chasing. And what is it chasing? It's chasing after the mouse. So all this stuff in blue, that's the predicate. All this stuff in yellow, the black cat, that's our subject. A weird old man was lurking on the street corner. Okay, so who's doing the action? A weird old man, that's your subject. Your verb was lurking, and all the rest is on the street corner. So was lurking on the street corner is your entire predicate. The entire school sang Christmas songs at the assembly. Okay, who's doing it? The entire school. That's your subject. What are they doing? They sang. That's your verb and your predicate. The entire rest of it, sang Christmas songs at the assembly, that is your entire predicate, okay? So now we've said that the subject will be a noun or a pronoun, but it's important to remember not every noun or pronoun counts as a subject. This is a big area of confusion, okay? The subject will be the person or the thing that is either doing the action in the sentence or it's being described. And it will come in front of the verb. So if I say, the wild horse galloped away from the dogs, horse and dogs are both nouns, but horse is doing the action. It's galloping. So horse is the subject, okay? The courthouse was surrounded by cops and protesters waving signs. Okay, so I've got a lot of nouns here. I've got courthouse, cops, protesters, signs, but they don't all count as the subject. The subject is what is being described. What's being described? The courthouse. That is your subject. It's right in front of the verb was surrounded, and it is your subject, okay? So I'm saying this because we've got an assignment coming up, and I have people circling every single noun and pronoun because there's some confusion. The subject has to be a noun or pronoun, but not every noun or pronoun counts as a subject, right? Like I have to, for meals, I have to eat some food or drink, right? Dinner has to have food or a drink, but not everything I eat or drink is going to count as my dinner. Something might be breakfast, something might be a snack, right? That's the kind of the idea, okay? So nouns are essentially naming words. They just tell you what something is called. Nouns can name people, places, things, concepts, or ideas. Concepts, ideas are the kind of the tricky category. So some examples of some people: mom, nurse, Dr. House, firefighter. Places could be things like a store, Sioux Lookout, an ocean, a restaurant. Things could be a pen, a chair, a flower, a rock, my hand. Concepts are things like beauty, sadness, democracy, excellence. Those are the ones that are a little bit trickier, okay? Now, there are common nouns and there are proper nouns. Common nouns refer to a general thing like a city, a mountain, a boy. Proper nouns refer to a specific thing or person by their name. A proper noun is always capitalized, and a common noun is not unless it happens to be at the beginning of a sentence, okay? Either one of those can be the subject of a sentence. So common would be boy, proper, Jonathan Smith. Common city, proper noun, Winnipeg. Common noun river, proper noun Detroit River. Common noun car, proper noun Ford Focus. Common noun restaurant, proper noun Kelsey's Restaurant. Common noun school, proper noun Sioux North High School. Common noun book, proper noun Jimmy Comes Home. Sorry, tiny little coughing break here. Okay, so a lot of sentences will have one or more noun, but remember, only the one doing the action is the subject. So look at the first sentence. The pretty birds flew out of the tree into the bright blue sky. Birds, tree, and sky are all nouns, but which one is the subject? Well, which one is doing the action? The pretty birds, they're the ones flying, so they are doing the action. So they are the subject. I'm just going to kind of highlight it there, okay? The new teacher wrote a note on the whiteboard. So we've got teacher is a noun. Note is a noun. Whiteboard is a noun. They're all things. Well, sorry, two of them are things and one of them is a person. Now, which one is the subject? Well, who's doing the action? The new teacher. Okay? And you can see the pattern already, probably, right? You can see how it's really commonly at the beginning. Now, there are some exceptions, and we will talk about that. But if we get this basic idea down, right, of where a subject comes, it's going to make the exercise so much easier. We are going to get to more complicated sentences, but we're at the very beginning of the course, so we're going with the very simplest type of sentence. Sioux Lookout is north of Thunder Bay. So if Sioux Lookout is one proper noun, Thunder Bay is another proper noun. Which one is the subject? Well, we're talking about Sioux North. We're explaining where it is in relationship to Thunder Bay. The newspaper said that the band would be playing at the Waterfront Theater. Okay, so newspaper is my one noun. Band, oops, hang on, didn't quite work there. Newspaper is my one noun. Band is my other noun. Waterfront Theater is my third one. Hang on. Which one is the subject? Well, who is doing the action? The newspaper is telling people about something. So the newspaper is doing the action, as funny as that kind of sounds. And so it is the subject. Democracy is based on the idea that people deserve to vote for their leaders. So democracy is a noun. It's a concept. Idea is a noun, which is another concept. People is a noun. Those are obviously people. And leaders are another noun, also some more people. Which one is the subject? Democracy. We're explaining what democracy is all about. Okay. True love is a dream that many adults chase after. So love is my one noun. It's a concept. Dream, you could call it a thing or you could call it a concept. And then adults, which is obviously a person. Okay. So love, dream, and adults, those are all nouns. Only true love is my subject. Hang on a sec. Okay. And yes, it isn't always this easy, but it often is at the basic level, okay? So remember that a subject can also be a pronoun as long as the pronoun is doing the action or is being described. In English, we have certain pronouns that are used as the subjects. I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. So I ran to the store. You are allowed to come over. He went fishing. She is on the porch. We can eat now. They are going to the garbage dump. Okay, I'm going to skip over this because I'm a little bit worried about our time. I will... okay, no, you know what? We really should do this because it is kind of the main thing. Locate the noun or pronoun that is the subject. So we've already seen it's very commonly at the beginning, so we want to take a look at the beginning. We were running late for school, okay? So we is my subject. Gray clouds. There is my subject for the next sentence. Gray clouds lurked in the sky, threatening. McDonald's came out with a new chicken sandwich. McDonald's is the topic of the sentence or the subject. The pretty girl in pink twirled on stage gracefully. The pretty girl in pink is my subject. My pencil fell onto the ground. My pencil is my subject. The table is old and worn out. The table is my subject. The federal election is coming up at the end of the month. The federal election is my subject. Hockey teams are competing in the playoffs to find the winning team. Hockey teams are my subject. So remember how we talked about how in English, word order is huge? That is why we're seeing the subject at the beginning, because word order is such an important part of how we make meaning in English, okay? Now, if you looked at these sentences, do they have a subject or do they not have a subject? I've got some little aqua-colored lines there. If it has a subject, we're going to move it over and underline it. And if it doesn't, we're going to just leave it blank. So she cries. Is there somebody doing an action there? Yeah, absolutely. She, right? Okay. Are going swimming. No, there's no subject. It doesn't tell me who's going swimming, so I don't know. Peter and Daniel like to fish. Is there a subject? Yes. Peter and Daniel are clearly hanging out and doing something there. There we go. Was watching the fireworks. Is there a subject there? No, because it doesn't tell me who's watching the fireworks. Happily walking down the street. Is there a subject? No. Some people will tell me street, but the street isn't doing anything. Someone is walking down the street, someone or something. Could be a person, could be a dog, could be a robot, who knows, right? But I don't know because they haven't told me. I need to know the subject. The branches were waving in the breeze. Is there a subject? Well, is there anyone doing the action? Yeah, the branches are waving. So they are our subject. Typed a message. No, because it doesn't tell me who typed the message. I don't know. Coming back. Nope, no subject. Climbed a tree. Nope, no subject. So we got to be cautious that our sentences have subjects, okay? So you may have noticed some of the nouns had certain kinds of describing words in front of them. One type was called articles. Articles are required in front of singular nouns. They do not have to be used in front of plural nouns. A shows that there's one of something, a or a, like a tree, a ball, a plate. It means there's one of it. And it's a general one, anyone, right? An also shows one of something. We use it in front of nouns that start with one of the vowels. A, E, I, O, U, an apple, an owl, an umbrella. Basically because it's harder to say a owl, a umbrella. It just sounds weird in English, so we kind of add a little n there to kind of separate the two words, basically. The can be used in front of singular or in front of plural nouns. It indicates a definite or a specific item or article, where the listener basically knows which one you mean. Like, the blue box is where I keep my jewelry. Not any blue box, but the blue box. So if I was talking to my husband, he would know which one I mean. Oh, that blue box. Oh, okay. The big tree by the pond fell over. If I was telling that to a friend, not the big tree by my street, the big tree by the pond. It's a specific one, right? The leaves are falling. So you can see here, I can use it for plurals as well. I can't use a or an for a plural because they obviously mean one of something. Singular nouns have to have a or an or the in front of them. Have to. Now, it can be the red apple, like there can be an adjective in between, but it still has to be there. So that's one key if you're looking for your nouns, where they are. Just keep in mind that every single noun does not count as your subject, only the one doing the action. We also have adjectives in there to describe nouns or pronouns. They will often come right before the noun they're describing. They can tell you how something looks, smells, feels, or tastes. They can tell you the amount, the quality, the origin, the material, the size, the color, the purpose. There's so many adjectives, okay? The noun or the pronoun all by itself is called the simple subject, right? Obviously, because it's all by itself, it's simple. The subject with all the articles or adjectives that help describe it are called the complete subject. It's the whole subject, essentially. So if I just said desks broke, desks would be my simple subject. I have said the desks broke, the desks is my complete subject. An old smelly building collapsed. Building is my simple subject. It's the main thing that's doing it. But the whole thing is an old smelly building. The sneaky red fox hid. So fox is my simple subject, but the sneaky red fox is my complete subject. So now looking at the next two beautiful little girls skipped rope. Okay, so who's doing the action? These girls are doing the action. That's my simple subject. But there's a bunch of descriptive words that tell me all about them. And that is two beautiful little girls. That is my complete subject. The dangerous Mr. Stevenson escaped. Who escaped? Well, Mr. Stevenson. Now I'm going to use both parts of his name, okay? Because that's his full name, the way we would say it. But I'm describing him, the dangerous Mr. Stevenson. So then I have to include that as well. Oh, my leg is cramping up. Ooh, very uncomfortable. Okay. Now, every now and again, adjectives will come after a simple subject. It's not super common, but it does happen in English. It's usually in some sort of phrase that starts with a preposition like, the boy in blue is my brother. So in blue is acting as an adjective, and it's part of my complete subject. The man with the broken arm got to emergency before me. So with the broken arm is describing the man, so you can figure out which one I mean, because maybe there's a lot of men there. It's part of the complete subject. But boy is the simple subject, and man would be the simple subject. The smell of apple pie was delicious. Okay, so the smell of apple pie is kind of my whole complete subject, and then just smell. Sorry, I did this a little bit backwards. Just smell would be the simple subject, okay? Now, some sentences might have what's called a compound subject. When we have that there's two or more nouns or pronouns that are the topic or the actors in the sentence. Things like dogs and cats love to run. Dogs and cats are a compound subject. They both count as a subject. Hot dogs and hamburgers are being cooked. Hot dogs and hamburgers are our compound subject. Jason and Kevin have arrived for the party. Jason and Kevin are my compound subject. You and I made the cut for the hockey team. You and I are a compact subject. Now, I made them simple, but they can also have adjectives in front of them. Like if I said, creepy monsters and scary ghosts were out for Halloween, my complete compound subject is creepy monsters and scary ghosts. I'm talking about the monsters and the ghosts. Crunchy chips and creamy dip are my favorite snack. Chips and dip are the simple parts, but altogether it's a compound subject. The little black cat and the big brown dog played together. The little black cat and the big brown dog is my compound subject. So sometimes there's more than one noun or pronoun that's acting in the subject. Okay, so our assignment is basically what we were just talking about, okay? In the original assignment, I actually also asked you guys to find adjectives, but I had so many problems with that. I tried to make this a little bit simpler and just kind of focus on the main idea, which is what is the simple subject and what is the complete subject? Circle my simple subject, underline the complete sentence, complete subject, half a mark for each. So the tall golden sunflowers swayed with the breeze. Sunflowers is my simple subject, so I would circle it. And the tall golden sunflowers is my complete subject. So Taylor Swift is a very popular singer. Taylor Swift is my simple subject. Interestingly, hang on, I forgot, gotta do the underlining first. Won't let me do it otherwise. Um, she's also the complete subject. In this one, there doesn't happen to be any describing words, so that's fine. Ontario is a huge province. I'm going to try and, there we go. Ontario is my simple subject, and it's also my complete subject because there's nothing to describe in it. If I had said something like beautiful Ontario, that would be my complete subject. Okay. The happy and excited children ran out to the new playground. So the children are the ones that are running. So they're my simple subject. And then the happy and excited children are my complete subject. Crumpled paper and broken pencils littered the hallway. So paper and pencils are both the litter. This is a compound subject. So I'm just going to kind of do it like this. I'm going to underline it, and then I'm going to add a circle for paper. And, hang on, can I squish this a little bit? There we go. A circle for pencils. I'm going to skip the last one there. Okay, so your assignment is like this. Now, some copies, for some reason, there was like a second number 4 in there for some reason. I'm not sure what happened there. And it started with Thunder Bay. If you see that one, you're welcome to cross off the Thunder Bay one. If you do it, that's fine. I just count it as an extra mark. It doesn't really affect your marks that much one way or the other. So you're finding the simple subject and underlining the complete subject. Half a mark for each part, total of 10 marks for the entire assignment. Okay, so then we're going to try and talk about verbs a little bit because we're going to talk about the next assignment. And actually, you know what, I'm going to, just because of timing, I'm going to try and skip ahead, and I may come back to, yeah, okay. I will come back to the verbs in a second, just to be on the safe side. So assignment 1, part B, is the 7 grandfather teachings. One of the indirectly stated themes in the novel you'll be reading throughout this course is the importance of walking the red road, or what's called the right path in life. You will travel with Jimmy, the main character in the novel Jimmy Comes Home, as he struggles with various issues that in some way affect us all. Along the way, Jimmy has opportunities to choose which path he will travel. Like us all, Jimmy is not perfect. However, he has resources, including family and elders of the community, who try to help him. Robert Checkwich, the author who wove the 7 grandfather teachings into the fabric of his book, through their actions rather than their words. Before we go forward in the course, we need to visit those teachings, as they will become your greatest teacher both throughout this course and throughout your life. This is one story of how the grandfather teachings came to the people. Your community or family may not find the 7 teachings important or valuable. However, it is the hope in this course to be respectful of all teachings. So what this basically means, they're trying to find a way to say this. This is not my phrase, sorry, is you may be of a different faith, right? Everybody has different faiths. However, a lot of the teachings in the grandfather teachings cross faith boundaries, right? Like lots of different faiths believe in bravery. And even people who don't believe in any kind of faith often believe in the importance of bravery. So even if you don't feel like, well, this doesn't really represent what I believe, take a look at the virtues that are listed and see if there's one that you feel strongly about, even if maybe you don't necessarily follow this particular faith religion, okay? So here is just kind of a very abbreviated version. There's a lot of different versions of this. This is just one version. The Creator gave the 7 grandfathers, who were very powerful spirits, the responsibility to watch over the people. The grandfathers saw that people were living a hard life. They sent their helper to spend time amongst the people and find a person who could be taught how to live in harmony with creation. Their helper went to the 4 directions to find a person worthy enough to bring to the grandfathers. While the boy was traveling with Otter, they were visited 7 times by spirits who told them about the gifts. And here is what they said. To cherish knowledge is to know wisdom. To know love is to know peace. To honor all of creation is to have respect. Bravery is to face the foe with integrity. Honesty in facing a situation is to be brave. Humility is to know yourself as a sacred part of creation. And truth is to know all of these things. Otto returned to his friend, who, because of all the time spent in the spirit world, was now an old man. The old man gathered all the people around and told them of his journey to the 7 grandfathers' lodge. He explained how to use the gifts. He also explained that the opposite of any of the gifts would lead to ruin. He gave them the understanding of opposites. It was now up to the people to follow the path laid out for them. The old man gave them all they needed for the development of the spiritual side of life. So your assignment is think about the grandfather teachings, pick just one of them that you have found important in your life, write me about a half a page about how that teaching has affected you in a positive manner. Afterwards, if you could please go through and underline the complete subject in each sentence. So for example, if I said, I find honesty is the grandfather teaching which is most important, I is my complete subject. My father always told me to tell the truth. My father is the subject. Every now and again, I have people going through and they're circling every single noun. Please don't do that. You don't need to. It's just the subject one. It's who's doing the action. This assignment is worth 10 marks. 5 marks are for the content, like how you explain things. 3 marks are for writing in a proper sentence, like a complete one. And 2 marks are for correctly underlining the complete subject. So what do I mean by content? Content is basically what you actually write. I'm looking for a paragraph that stays on topic and discusses one teaching. It should show that you understand that virtue. It should show how the writing affected your life with relevant, appropriate examples. So it's not enough to just say, I've always tried to show kindness to other people. You must give an example from your life. It might sound something like this. This is just an example. Please don't copy this example. I've always tried to show kindness to other people. It's hard to do that when other people aren't showing you kindness, such as calling you names or even hitting you. Sometimes I have wanted to call them names or hit them back, but instead I have just walked away. So that's what I mean by content. Quick review. So the grandfather teachings are bravery, honesty, humility, love, truth, respect, and wisdom. So choose whichever one that you think has been important in your life, okay? I'm going to talk a little tiny bit about the writing process while we have some time. Sometimes we assume people who write just put their pen on the paper and out come beautiful sentences with perfect spelling and grammar without any effort at all. But in reality, writing is a lot of work. Most people who write for a living follow certain steps with a lot of circling around and repetition. Usually they do some planning or some brainstorming, then they make a rough draft, then they revise or improve that rough draft, then they edit it for mistakes, and then they publish it. So we're going to start with pre-planning or brainstorming some ideas. First of all, choosing which one to write about. Now, different people approach writing differently. Some people look at that list and instantly know, oh, that's the one that's important, and I already know like 3 things I want to say about it. If that's the case for you, go ahead and start writing. That's fine. But if you are looking at the list and feeling a little bit overwhelmed, trying to think of what to say, here is one possible writing exercise you can try. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Pick any of the word on the list and just write anything that comes to mind when you think of that word. It doesn't even need to be a sentence. And then if you run out of things to say, go on to the next word, right? So if I started with bravery, bravery makes me think of soldiers in the war and people standing up to other people and standing up for what they believe in. And okay, I can't think of anything else. Okay, so honesty. And then you would go on. And what happens is you find very quickly that some of those things you've got a lot to say about, and some of them you really don't have anything to say about. So I'm using a different virtue that is not a grandfather teaching, so people aren't tempted to copy me. So I have grateful, being thankful for things, noticing the good stuff in life. What is my good stuff? Family, children, health. And then I've got hardworking, always worked hard, babysitting, volunteering in school, maybe not with housework. Why is hardworking so important? Shows you have values, skills, helps others, help yourself, not lazy, not waiting for others to give you stuff, feeling confident that you can do it if you can just try. So when you look at these 2 words, it's obvious I've got a lot more to say about hardworking than I do about gratefulness. So it's probably a better choice for me because I'll have a lot more to say, right? If you look at one of those words and you don't really know what it means, don't pick that one, right? There's no point picking one that's going to make it harder. Pick one that you feel is going to be easy to write about, okay? Here's a different way of brainstorming. Here I just kind of put the words down and then tried to think of little things to say or little examples. Here I was using bravery and humility. Now, this is not my rough draft. This is my brainstorming. Please do not hand this in. I won't mark something like this, right? This is just me thinking about stuff, but thinking on paper. Later on, I'll do some writing. Okay? The other way to think about it is, what are some things you're proud of and what qualities helped you accomplish it? So maybe you're proud of yourself for being a good parent. Okay. What makes you feel like you're a good parent? Is it being honest? Is it bravery? Is it respect? Is it love? So let's say you picked respect. Okay, well, how did respect help you be a better parent? What are some examples of how you show respect as a parent? And then once you write some of those ideas down, you can easily write a paragraph on it. So, for example, let's say I think I'm a good parent because of dedication. I might say things like, I never gave up even when my partner left me. I made sacrifices to keep the kids fed. I worked overtime to make sure I could buy toys and clothes. This is just an example, by the way. Now, I'm showing you 3 different ways because there's more than one way to do some brainstorming. You can pick whichever one works for you. That part I'm not marking, okay? Once I've got it, hang on. Okay. Once I've got down which one I want to pick, I would then start to write my half a page, okay? After I've got my half page, I would go back. I would see if I need to make any improvements. Do I need to fix any spelling mistakes? What do I need to do? Hang on. Okay. Check over your paragraph after you've finished. How is your content? Does it make sense? Have I used specific examples? Have I written incomplete sentences? And can I find the subject of each sentence? So I'm going to just quickly make this kind of darker ink because it's a bit tricky to see for some reason. There we go. Okay, so patience is the grandfather teaching I found most important. I know that isn't one of the, I'm just kind of using it as an example. So patience is my subject. I underlined it. The reason is that my parents were very impatient people. The reason is my subject. I grew up acting like them and was often very impatient with other people. I is my subject. Eventually, I realized how much this bothered other people and began trying to show other people the patience I wished my parents had shown me. Now, this is a tricky sentence because it's a longer one that has multiple parts. It's not a simple sentence. I have 2 choices. If I understand more complex sentences, I could find the subject in both. Or I could shorten it to make slightly simpler sentences, like, eventually I realized how much this bothered other people, period. And then I could stop there. Then I could start my new sentence. I began trying to show other people the patience I wished my parents had shown me. So now I've got 2 separate sentences and I found a subject in both, okay? As a teacher, you need patience to repeat certain ideas or concepts many times. I'm going to end there because of the simple sentence thing, okay? I don't want to get the sentences too long. So as a teacher, it does have the word teacher, but I'm sort of describing things. The you is where the sentence really starts, okay? And if you're not sure, then I would just take out that phrase and I would just phrase it differently. Like I might say, teachers, if I wasn't sure. Teachers need patience to repeat certain ideas or concepts many times. If you get impatient, young children can get frustrated or even scared and begin to hate school. So it is a little bit tricky, and I am sort of leaning towards simpler sentences in this assignment, just because I'm trying to get across the idea of how we do subjects. If you're an amazing writer and you're feeling very confident at finding subjects, that's fine. But what I sometimes find is what people are, they're not sure. So they'll go, oh, a grandfather is a subject. Well, it is if I was talking about my grandfather, but here I'm talking about a grandfather teaching. It's actually kind of acting like an adjective, right? It's not a noun there, right? My parents were very impatient people. So parents is a noun, but it's not the subject. People's a noun, but it's not the subject. I'm just looking for the subject. That is the sole focus of this assignment, and obviously Writing. The reason I'm doing this right here is because the whole concept of a subject is the hardest thing I find for many, many students who struggle with this course. Um, and I'm trying to find out right away who finds it easy and who finds it more tricky. Now, just because you find it tricky doesn't mean you don't do well in the course. It just means I know I'll need to spend a little bit more time working on that concept with you, and that's okay, right? Like I said, one of the big issues is different languages place more emphasis on that than others. English is one of those ones that just does place a lot of emphasis on it, and that's why we have to kind of be aware of it, okay? My time is wrapping up, and I have another teacher coming in to teach their class, so I'm going to have to leave, and we'll take up on this tomorrow. Tomorrow we will tackle assignment 2. I don't know if we'll get any farther than that. Probably just assignment 2. Give me a phone call or shoot me an email message if you need help with anything. And I hope you find this really easy. Okay? Take care.